You ever wonder how a giant global company, we're talking thousands of people all over the world, actually works? How does it think and react and feel like one single thing? Well, the secret is in its nervous system. It's this invisible network that carries all the vital information to every single part of the organization. And that's exactly what we're diving into today, the Management Information System, or MIS.
I mean, really think about that for a second. How does a CEO sitting in an office in New York have any idea if a factory over in Vietnam is running on schedule? How does a marketing team in London know what people in Tokyo are actually buying? The sheer scale of it all is just staggering. It feels like it should be impossible to coordinate that many people, but it happens every single day. And the answer is the system that connects them all.
So let's go ahead and pull back the curtain on this invisible engine. What exactly is a management information system? It's a term that gets thrown around a lot, but what it really means is way more interesting than just, business software.
Okay, so the official definition here actually reveals something really crucial. Notice those key phrases, an integrated system of man and machine. Right away, this tells you it's not just about the tech. It's about how people and technology work together. And its whole purpose? To support decision-making. That's the key. If the information isn't helping a human being make a better, smarter choice, then it's really just noise. It's not a true MIS.
And to make that crystal clear, let's look at what an MIS is versus what it isn't. It is absolutely a tool to help managers make tough calls. It is a systematic, organized way of gathering data. But it is not just any piece of software you have on your computer. For example, a computer-aided design program is an amazing tool, but it's not an MIS because it doesn't pull in data from across the whole company to help with management decisions. And that distinction, right there, is everything.
All right, now let's zoom out a little bit. To really get a handle on MIS, we have to understand the system part of its name. An organization isn't just a random pile of people and desks. It's a highly structured system, and the MIS is the network that holds the entire thing together.
At its very core, any system works like this. You've got inputs, let's say raw sales figures. Then you have a process where that data gets sorted, analyzed, and organized. And finally, you get an output, like a clean, easy-to-read report that a manager can actually use. So raw data goes in, and useful, actionable information comes out. It's a simple concept, but it's incredibly powerful.
And what's really cool is how this simple model just scales up beautifully. Your company, that's a system, but it exists inside a bigger super system. The market, the economy, the whole environment. And then inside your company, you've got all these subsystems, departments like marketing, finance, production. Each one is its own little system with its own inputs and outputs, and they're all interconnected, constantly feeding information to each other and across the whole organization.
So if the MIS is the nervous system, how does it make sure the right signals get to the right parts of the body? I mean, a message meant for your hand is totally different than a message meant for your heart, right? Well, in a company, the exact same thing is true for its managers.
We can picture the whole organization with this classic pyramid. Way up at the top, you have strategic planning. That's the C-suite, the big bosses thinking years down the road. In the middle, you've got management control. These are your directors, turning that big strategy into actual plans for the next quarter. And then down at the bottom, you have operational control. The team leads and floor managers making sure this week's work actually gets done. Each level has a completely different job to do.
And because their jobs are so different, the kind of information they need is, well, worlds apart. The contrast here is just stark. At the top, the strategic folks, they need a super wide scope of information, and a lot of it is external, like what are our competitors up to? It's the big picture. But down at the operational level, they need a really narrow scope. It's almost all internal, and it has to be incredibly detailed, often in real time. The MIS has to be able to deliver both types of information, flawlessly.
Let's make this really concrete. A strategic decision? That's the CEO asking, should we expand our business into Europe? A management decision is the marketing director asking, okay, what's our ad budget for the next 3 months? And an operational decision is the salesperson on the ground asking, which clients should I call tomorrow morning? See? Same company, but wildly different questions, and they're all being powered by the same underlying MIS.
Okay, so the system gets the right information to the right person. But how does a bunch of data on a screen actually turn into a smart decision? Well, it turns out there's a formal process for this, and a good MIS is designed to support every single step of the way.
According to Herbert Simon's famous framework, any decision really happens in 3 stages. First up is intelligence, and that means gathering intelligence, not about being smart. This is where the MIS flags a problem, like, hey, sales are down 10% this month. Second is the design stage, where a manager uses that data to brainstorm possible solutions, like maybe we lower prices or launch a new ad campaign. And finally, you have choice, where you look at the options and commit to a path forward.
Now, in business, decisions basically come in two main flavors. You've got program decisions. These are the routine, repetitive ones. Think about reordering inventory. When stock gets low, a rule automatically triggers a new order. It's a solved problem. Then you have non-program decisions. These are the total opposite. They're unique, they're messy, they're unstructured, and there's no clear playbook, like deciding whether to launch a whole new product line.
And here it is. This is the real game changer. The number one goal of a modern MIS is to automate all of those program decisions. By taking all that routine work off our plates, it frees up our limited mental energy for the really messy, high-stakes problems where human creativity and judgment truly matter. So it's not about replacing managers, it's about upgrading them, from just being supervisors to becoming real strategic thinkers.
But, and this is a big but, like any central nervous system, this incredible tool is also incredibly sensitive. If it gets sick, or if it gets attacked, the entire organization can be paralyzed. This system is both a massive strength and potentially a huge point of failure.
And the threats really do come from every angle. You've got the stuff you'd expect, right? Hardware fails, software has bugs, hackers are constantly trying to break in from the outside. But you've also got telecommunication problems and simple everyday human error, like someone accidentally deleting a critical file. Any one of these can disrupt the flow of information and grind decision-making to a screeching halt.
And this really highlights a hard truth about security. While we're all worried about some hacker in a basement far away, the data consistently shows that the most significant threats often come from within. It could be a disgruntled employee, a simple mistake by a programmer, or an untrained staff member. A lot of the time, the call is coming from inside the house.
So protecting this organizational brain requires a serious multi-layered defense. It means having strong technical controls, like good passwords and encryption. It means doing regular audits to constantly check for weak spots. And maybe most of all, it requires a culture of constant vigilance, where every single person understands their role in protecting the company's most vital asset, its information. And that brings us to one last really important question to think about. We've seen how an MIS acts like the brain of a company, right? It automates routine stuff to free us humans up for the complex challenges. But as these systems get smarter, more predictive, as these organizational brains become more and more autonomous, who is ultimately in control? Something to think about.